We have a special guest that is joining us. Chris Harris Jr. is going to come in and give us his thoughts on the NFL draft so far, as well as Travis Hunter being a Jacksonville Jaguar. Chris Harris Jr., welcome to the show. I don't know if we've ever been on a show together, so nice to virtually meet you. But really, really excited to have you here. And what are your thoughts so far? Yeah, we got you. There we go.
Good.
There we go. Yeah, what are your thoughts so far? Anything that shocked you, surprised you? Is it kind of trending how you thought it would? And then how are you feeling about Travis Hunter?
I didn't like the Browns trading out for Travis Hunter. I really think that would have been a huge piece for them to be able to add that with that stout defense that they have, already good corners. And then you actually have a number one receiver now that you can add in with Judy. So losing that pick, I know Shelby's definitely hurting over there. The Raiders pick, that definitely killed us. Them getting Genty. That's going to be a tough running back. He's a great kid. He's down here in Dallas and training with my trainer that I trained with, pretty much going through a lot of the same program I went through. So I know that kid is ready to roll. His mindset is unbelievable, off the charts. So we're going to have to deal with him forever. And, so right now, that's probably my only two major surprises. I didn't like the Mason Graham pick for the Browns because it's like, man, they didn't get a game changer that they needed. Other than that, it's been going pretty solid so far.
Okay.
Man, so Chris, well, first off, what up? You already know what up. You already know. But so I don't know if you heard this, but the rumor is with this pick right here with the Bears, it's going to be Colston Loveland instead of Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
So well, how you feeling about that?
They're pretty even. When you look at both their playing styles, they're very similar. But I love the way the guy from Penn State, what's his name?
Tyler Warren.
Yeah, him. He's just so versatile. You can put him everywhere. He's a tight end mismatch. And Loveland's kind of that, inline tight end guy. So it just depends on what system you're running, and probably fits better with the Bears and their offense and what they're doing compared to having a guy like Warren. It's kind of, a guy that you can put anywhere on the field.
Well, so Chris, as we keep trying to speculate what the Broncos might do, we're hearing they could be in play to trade up. We heard that they were even looking to try to get into the top 10. I think it's for Tyler Warren. I think they would have loved Ashton Genty, but weren't going to be able to get far enough. Well, on top of the Saints and Mickey Loomis being a friend of Sean Payton's, his best friend, he calls him all the time, no move there. Then the Bears are about to take Colston Loveland officially, and we're already hearing that Michael Williams, the pass rusher out of Georgia, is headed to San Fran. So the Niners, even though there's certainly strong ties with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, maybe they're still a little bitter about the Dre Greenlaw thing, as well as Hufanga. Are you excited to see if the Broncos try to jump, say, the Colts and get to 12 or 13, call the Cowboys, call the Dolphins to try to get Tyler Warren, or do you just want them to stand pat at 20 or maybe even trade back?
If I'm the Broncos, I'm going to try to stand pat, right? They got a lot of picks in this draft, and I think Loveland just went off the board. But I think you can still get a nice offensive weapon there at 20. There's a lot of good running backs in this draft. It's a lot of depth. Hopefully the North Carolina kid there, Hampton, is still there, because that'll be a game changer too if they're able to get him. Or just be patient. We got a running back in Kansas, all-time leading rusher, a guy named Devin Neal. Right? The real deal, Devin Neal. If they can get him in the third round, that is a steal for anybody. Right? I've seen it too many times with this guy. So I think the Broncos definitely got to get a running back or a receiver.
Also, I just want to put this out here. It was just announced. The NFL will announce the 2025 schedule on May 14th.
Ooh.
So just so everyone knows, May 14th is when the schedule will be released.
We're gonna plan our travel around that. Like the day that comes out, it matters to players because you want to know when your bye week is, and you want to know what your back-to-backs are, or 3 on the road whenever you have that, or 3 at home. The Broncos are rumored to be potentially playing the Colts in Germany, the first game in Berlin this year, I believe.
I played in Munich. So
yes, you played in Munich. So that's a possibility. You're going to find out who the Chargers will play in Brazil. They're a year away from announcing an Australia game. But it's funny, the NFL just fell into the schedule thing being a bigger deal in May because of COVID. they normally release it usually like a week before the draft is when it
That's
would
what I
come
thought.
out.
Yeah.
And then in the COVID year, they were just trying to piece it all together. They waited until mid-May and got all this excitement and like, oh, another month that we can now have a big event in. And so it's really only June when the mini camps end. July is the only non-NFL month we know because once camps start, or early July.
Mm-hmm.
And so they own mid-May now because even though baseball's in full swing, basketball, hockey playoffs, lottery in the NBA, everyone wants to know when your team is playing in Vegas, when your team's playing in New York, when you're coming to Denver. It's always fun.
Dude,
So
these draft rooms kill me. It makes me feel like it's like Family Feud when they tell you like you have to scream like you had a good answer,
yeah,
even though we all know it wasn't. Like they're all just sitting there.
great pick.
Okay, Chris, I've got a question for you. Is there a chance, we were kind of talking about this a little bit before you hopped on and joined us, is there a chance that we see Shedeur fall to the second round?
I don't see him falling past the Steelers. I think Mike Tomlin and them, they don't have a quarterback at all. I think only Rudolph, I believe, is on. I can't name a backup quarterback they have. So I think that I see him falling to the Steelers if nobody else grabs him. And that would be a steal, right?
Yeah.
This guy has been a playmaker at all stops. I think he's going to be definitely an impact player in the league. You know, just his athleticism, what might hinder him is probably what's hindering him in the draft right now is just him not just being that freak athlete at the quarterback position. But, you know, back in the day, you know, 5-10 years ago, they would have loved a pocket passer like Shedeur, right? He would have easily been top pick, right? So just now we can see the evolution of the game now that you got you want a quarterback that can run, that can extend plays, that can do those, you know, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen type plays, and Shedeur just isn't athletically like that. He just can't do it like them, you know. But in the pocket, he can make the throws, and and so I see him being a good fit with the Steelers. Hopefully, they're able to, you know, be able to get him, and I think that's just the best fit for him.
I agree, and I also wonder too a little bit outside of just like the game plan of how to utilize him there. I do think a lot of concerns that teams had about Shedeur was maybe the attitude or the ego or that little sense of cockiness. I do feel like if any coach can kind of rein that in a little bit and also, you know, be on the same level in terms of like they understand each other, they have a mutual respect. It feels like it's Mike Tomlin. Like that also feels like a good fit in the sense of, I don't want to call it an attitude, but that's how it's perceived by many. The attitude problem of Shedeur that I think people worried about feels like it's a really great coach to have when it's Mike Tomlin, and that's something that you're maybe worried about when he's a rookie.
I never had an issue with quarterbacks being like having an ego driven like that. Have you, Shelby? You really don't. I can't think of me. Well, you play with other guys, you know, that kind of have some.
No, but I haven't had a quarterback who really, you know, most quarterbacks come in and they just kind of are quiet at first and they just work and then they kind of find themselves once they start playing well. I think the Shedeur thing, I think the best thing for him would be to go to the Steelers. I've said this before, and I'm telling you now, Chris, that I think it'd be best if he went to the Steelers and they still signed Aaron Rodgers. I think if he got to go there and sit a year and watch and learn, and, you know, we don't know how much Aaron Rodgers is actually teaching, but if he actually just got to watch and learn behind an all-time great like Aaron Rodgers, it will do nothing but help. But we're in a day and age now where first-round picks are supposed to play right now.
Yeah.
And if they're not playing right now, even quarterbacks, then the next year we might go draft another quarterback. So we'll see. But I think the best spot for him would definitely be Pittsburgh.
Well,
I agree.
They do have Skylar Thompson on the roster also.
For Miami.
Yeah, K-State guy. So Chris and I can only be so nice. But Skylar Thompson, Mason Rudolph's not scaring you. If the Broncos stand pat at 20, you talked about running back. It just feels like Sean Payton doesn't, even though his daughter said that they're going to take Amari Hampton.
Again, he's throwing us off.
Doesn't want that value. So let's go non-running back. What would you like to see them do at 20 if they don't make any moves, don't move back because someone wants to jump the Steelers or whatever?
Man, my favorite corner is Will Johnson, right? If it wasn't Travis Hunter at corner, my number 2 corner is Will Johnson. And guess who he looks like? He's a Patrick Surtain 2.0.
Woo!
Right? Another 6'2" corner who's very smooth, has great ball skills, won a national championship. I think he might have been one of the top players in that game last year in the national championship. So if Will Johnson is there at 20, you cannot pass that up, right? To have two 6'2" corners out wide, right? Who's going to throw on the Broncos? Who's
Nobody.
going to throw
And
on
they like Riley Moss's ability to move inside. They're not opposed to taking a corner because they think Riley can play inside. I think they like Jaquan McMillan. I don't think they love him. So that wouldn't surprise me if Will Johnson's there. Even the Barron kid from Texas, Jade Barron, who I think is going to go to the Cardinals. It's just a gut. But I think corner could be in play for sure. Or if Walter Nolan, the big D lineman, slides, I think he could be in play too, even though they're really good up front.
See, I've heard that Walter Nolan went over to the Broncos, and it makes no sense because you want to put together a player, you want to draft a player who's going to impact your team day one.
What about a wideout? Because wideouts can often transition right away. So if Golden slides or the Burden kid or a Buka.
See, Burden, I keep hearing is going to drop the second round. And so in that point, you got to figure out which one will actually be there and which ones you can actually wait on.
Right.
Because it's going to be a lot of, especially always at receiver, it's always going to be talk of like which receiver someone wants. But the issue is, though, is that teams are so split on their receiver rankings that teams are just like when Jalen Reagor got drafted above Justin Jefferson. Obviously, the Eagles liked Jalen Reagor more than like Justin Jefferson. So these teams all have these different, rankings when it comes to this. So it's so many receivers. It'd be interesting to see how it works out.
Yeah, I agree. Any final thoughts from you, Chris, on maybe predictions? Any hot takes you have? Maybe not even just for the draft, but for the upcoming season. Any teams on your radar? Anything that you want to say before we let you go?
Yeah, I definitely think the Jaguars could be scary on offense with Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas. Those two at receiver could be a problem for a lot of teams, a lot of matchups, but we don't know what they can do at quarterback. The quarterback hasn't been consistent at all since he's been in the NFL, but he's got paid. They treat him like a superstar down there, but he hasn't really done anything. Right. So it's going to be interesting to see how he plays with those two guys, but with those two dynamic receivers that can score anytime they touch the ball, it's going to be tough to play the Jaguars. I seen Michael Williams getting drafted to the Niners.
Yes, and he's emotional, and I love that.
Well, with Robert Saleh, defense, one more pick that just came in. Right now, you live not too far from where the Cowboys practice. They are replacing Zach Martin retiring, going right away with the big kid from Alabama. Tyler Brooker is probably going to slide in and start day one in place of Zach Martin. So what do you think about the Cowboys not going with a wideout to give Dak another weapon, but helping protect Dak up front with the Booker kid?
Well, their O-line hasn't played good the past 2 years. They definitely needed some new, fresh legs up there. Those guys, Tyron Smith. Well, who else did they have? Frederick. They had a whole bunch of guys.
Yeah, three guys retire.
Yeah, all those guys, they played a lot, man. Played tons of snaps and, had a hell of a career, Hall of Fame career. So it's going to be tough to replace those guys. But I think that's a good start, getting a big physical guy from Alabama. And Cowboys are always trying to get that 330, that big old lineman to kind of move the piles, And so I think he fits the mode of what Cowboys try to do.
Well,
Love
it. We have one pick. Well, obviously, Dallas taking no lineman.
Yep.
I'll just say the Denver only has Miami to trade up with if they do want to make that move at tight end.
Yeah, because
which I don't necessarily understand as much because you did go get Evan Ingram.
Yeah,
but he's 30. It's a 2-year deal.
You didn't. Well, yeah, but also you did just go get him. And once again, if you're going to have a first round pick, especially a pick at this level, at this range, they need to play right away.
Hey,
right.
And I brought this up earlier. So you're down the street and you hear plenty of criticisms of Jerry. I grew up in Dallas. I know how long it's been since they've even made a championship game, let alone the Super Bowl, same year, obviously. But Stephen Jones and Will McClay have drafted in the last 8 years 7 first-rounders that have made an all-pro.
Yeah.
Wow.
They do know what they're doing.
And up front, especially, you mentioned Frederick. Lots of people had 4th-round grades, and we're killing Jerry on that. The guy went to like 5 Pro Bowls.
And actually, it's funny because me and him came in together in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Travis.
When you met him, you're like, oh, this guy's going to be a multi-year all-pro.
No clue at all.
Yeah.
He came from Bigfoot, Wisconsin.
Hey, real quick, Chris, before we let you go.
Yeah, I lied. We have more questions.
We know what a big hoop fan
I got
you are.
two more. I'm good. 2 more. I'm good.
Well, your Lakers got back into the series. We know Shelby's Bucks aren't
hold
where
on.
anybody wants
Leave
them to
my Bucks
be.
out of it.
We'll leave the Bucks out. We'll leave the Lakers out of it too for now. But what do you think happens with the Nuggets and Clippers game 3? MPJ is going to play, but don't know how much that shoulder is going to limit them. They're back home. Clippers have their own new building. So who wins tonight in the pivotal game 3?
I think the Nuggets got to change around their defensive scheme, right? They let Kawhi pretty much play ISO ball all day. He wasn't in any rush, dribbling all day. And then he finally pulled up for a pull-up, right? It was cash all day. But it's because they let him take his time, get into his rhythm and get into his play. So I think if the Nuggets can kind of rush him, double team him, force other players on the Clippers to beat them, they should be able to win this series. But the last game plan, you can clearly see without Mike Malone, they're not the same. They're not coached at the same level as they were in the playoffs in the past. The Bucks are done, Shelby. I'm sorry, man.
Hey, hold on. Hey, how about you straight?
Well, we did see today where somebody tweeted that they don't know why the Bucks traded for Kyle Kuzma, and Giannis liked the tweet. So that can't be great.
I love that. I love shady business like that. That's good stuff. I mean, 0 points in a playoff game, Shelby. We already talked about this. It's despicable.
Going back to football.
We're on the draft part of our extravaganza.
He's done.
Going back to football. Do you think Travis? Chris, do you think Travis Hunter would be able to play both sides of the ball? Screw y'all. That's it right
now. It's gonna be extremely hard. I think it's gonna probably have to be like a week-to-week basis, right? He thinks he can do it every week, but it's gonna be hard if he has to deal with a top 5 receiver, then come back and deal with a top 5 corner in the same day. That's gonna be hard, right? And it takes people don't understand. It takes all your energy to cover these damn receivers, right? It takes everything you got to cover Tyreek Hill. And then you got to get ready to go get open on Jalen Ramsey. That would be very hard. So I think he can do it. I'm not going to say he can't do it, but I would say it's going to be hard for him to do it every week.
I agree with that. I agree. Okay, well, Chris Harris Jr., thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. Yeah, you're being called a hater, but just ignore him. He's still licking his wounds. He's still dealing with it.
The series is not over.
It's not. You're right. It's not. But we need Dame back.
Just because Chris said it's done, don't mean it's done.
You're right.
Chris, I will reach through the screen. That's okay.
Late show, man. We 1-1 too. Late show, we 1-1. We're gonna bounce back this game. We got to go to Minnesota and win on the road. So. That's going to be interesting there.
I've got Minnesota upsetting in that series. Don't take it personal. Anthony Edwards, he's a bad, bad man. And in the playoffs, he is scary, scary, scary. But that's also coming from a Nuggets fan who I did the girl math in my head. And I said, well, we've owned the Lakers and the Timberwolves have owned us. So I'm thinking the Timberwolves could just own the Lakers as well. It was girl math. It was more just, maybe I don't want to see the Lakers. I don't want to have to deal with Lakers fans on X.
And I'm thinking the exact opposite of you. I'm thinking hey, Clippers, handle business with the Nuggets so we don't got to see the Nuggets, right?
There we go.
That's what I'm saying.
You want to run from the team.
Right.
You're running from You know what? We want that Pacer smoke.
Well, you're getting
getting all of it, Shelby.
We want that Cavs smoke. You know why? Because we're going to be okay.
Hey, Chris.
Don't worry about us. We're going to be good. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. No matter what these haters over here say, Chris, you know what? And no matter what your hating ass say, the Bucks are going to be okay. And you heard it here first.
We're not haters. We're realists.
I'm taking any and all bets.
Okay.
Actually, no. Hold on.
I'm in.
No, but I'm taking 2 bets. That's what I said. Not any and all.
2 bets.
There we go.
2 bets.
There's criteria.
Chris and Shelby and Ryan Harris, such a big part of what we're doing here at Gorilla. We're the Harris's. Season 2 will come in the football season.
Y'all ready, man?
Certainly the plan. I know you're ready to go, but I think we're going to check in with Chris tomorrow on our special Friday off field that Nate Jackson and I are reviewing round 1 to get Chris's thoughts on what the Broncos end up doing, because it doesn't look like the Dolphins are making a move and the Broncos are jumping into 13.
The pick's not in there.
So we'll see. We still got 3 minutes.
Dolphins are taking corner, man. They probably take Will Johnson.
Then they can trade Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, if they probably trade Ramsey, then they probably need a corner and receiver because they wanted to trade Hill too, didn't they?
Well, I think they'd like to because for as awesome as he is, they've got Waddle, and he can be a bit of a headache, even though he's extremely talented still. And I know the toughest person you said you ever had to cover in your time in the league, at least certainly the fastest. That goes without saying. But Chris, this was awesome, man.
Yeah, man. Y'all let me know, man. Tomorrow, man. Just let me know, man. We'll see if I'm free.
Man, you know you ain't got nothing to do.
Oh,
Man, I got 5 little girls.
Be a Bucks hater. That's all you doing.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, man.
Touch base with you soon. Thank you so much.
Later.
See you later.